So, good afternoon, ladies and gents, and welcome back to the last course of New Media Literacy. And this is actually the last course of the full-on semester because practically we have reached the end of our studies, and from next week on it is going to be presentations week. So practically it's going to be your time to shine, and it's going to be your time to show what you've got. So the last 3 weeks, both in media communication and in New Media Literacy, is going to be focusing on you and your work. And my work is coming to an end, unfortunately, in here. I will be with you and I will be evaluating your products, but yes, it's crazy how fast time flies by. Now, ladies and gents, I did tell you about it in our courses as well, that on the 26th of November, which is going to be a presentation day in New Media Literacy, I will be away. I will have to go to a conference. I will not be away, I will be in my living room, but apparently I will have to join into a conference in the time of our class. So practically what I would like to ask you, and I did tell you about it before, but I would like to kind of record the video including this piece of information as well, that those people who are presenting or who would have been presenting on the 26th of November, which is going to be, sorry, I'm using a cheat sheet for myself, it's going to be the online victimization, identity construction and self-representation on Facebook, and the last one is social media and mental health. These are the 3 groups that are affected. I'm really sorry about the change. And I would like to kindly ask you, as I checked your timetables, it's either going to be that we bring this Thursday class forward to Wednesday, and we would be having a class from 4:30 until 5, and I will be listening to you, or we can bring it forward to Tuesday as well, from 11:40. We can do both as well. I'm very happy to be listening to you in Teams any day. So I would like to kindly ask these 3 groups to be reaching out to me. I mean, have a consensus with your group, of course, which one you choose. 25th Wednesday or 24th Tuesday to be presenting. On Wednesday, we would be having like media and communication, and then afterwards, from 3:30, we would be having the presentations week, or presentations something, the first class. And then if it's not working for you, or if you already present in media on that day as well, because many of you have indicated, then it's no good to have 2 presentations on the same day. And if you don't want to do that, we could just bring it forward to Tuesday, the 24th, 11:40. I'm very happy to be listening to you then as well, because I checked your timetables and you don't have a class there either. So practically that's it, ladies and gents, about the presentations. Apart from that, it's all... The floor is yours. You can contain any kind of content. I'm very curious and excited about what you will be covering. If you don't have a group yet, shame on you. You need to get started, and you need to join a group and do it, because you know that it is compulsory to do the final presentation of the term in all 3 subjects. Okay, so in media, in communication or elocution, speech writing, and in New Media Literacy, and you're unable to take the final oral exam if you have not done the presentation. So it's very serious. I'm hoping that you're taking it seriously, because otherwise I'm unable to allow you to take the final exam, talking about which, I'm going to let you know of the potential dates. I have already sent it to the department. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but I'm going to let you know in Teams after class which ones are the designated dates, which I'm sure they won't change. Not confirmed yet, but 99% sure that it's going to be the 3 dates that I'm going to be giving you in each subject. And you know it as well that in media you will have an exam, so only the media part where we've had videos and stuff like that. And in New Media Literacy you will have an oral exam. These 2 courses, in the second part of the media communication or elocution, as we called it, there is no oral exam, okay? So you just do the presentation, and it's going to be perfectly enough for you. So, practically, ladies and gents, let's get started with the last material. Changes within web security. This is going to be the last topic I would like to cover for you. And practically, we did kind of talk about it previously, that we are living in a kind of a surveillance culture. So practically we are being watched all the time. This is the sense of it. And the more the internet device, the more enhanced IT security is needed. We don't do that, right? So we don't even see or watch what sort of agreements we agree to accept. They're like 35 pages, nobody reads them, nobody reaches out to ask what it is. We just don't really care about it, and it turns out that we agree to data mining a lot of the times, of course. Yes, the internet banking, other systems as well, they contain very much confidential information, and these are being used constantly online as well. We do have automatically generated information, for example, our IP addresses, cell phone information, our location as well. So both our virtual kind of deeds and our real life deeds are watched and are reached practically as well. And the cyber criminal investigation and criminal investigation kind of is easier nowadays, because it's easy to track down if some sort of a happening took place, or some sort of a negative action took place. It's just that it's harder to find the person who was actually responsible for it. So it's easy to see if something bad happened, but it's not easy to find who did that, because online it's just less easy. Yeah, there are data mediums that store our consciously prepared, updated data as well. And I wanted to talk to you in Teams. Maybe we could chat about the Edward Snowden case as well. I'm not sure if you know it, but of course, we do know that so many companies, advertising companies, marketing companies, these are mining our data in order to know what sort of advertisements to be recommending us and what to do in general. However, Edward Snowden in America, he was the person to kind of shed light on the deeds of the government as well. He shed light on the Bush government and Barack Obama, how much the government was actually mining the data of the people and how they were actually using and abusing those data as well. We can be talking about it later too. So I just wanted to kind of shed light on the fact that it's not only marketing companies or this and that kind of companies, it's the government too, which is going to be very much using our data, but I'm guessing it's not much of a surprise really. Okay, so these kind of data, they're being used with or without our permission, right? This is the main issue. And what we need to know is that, or what we need to notice is that the border between our private life and our professional life has kind of somewhat disappeared. And especially nowadays with COVID, I would say it's just like COVID has turned the world around in this sense too. And right now that your living room is your studio, at the same time you don't go into your workplace personally or in person, you stay in the same place as well. There is like a very fluid kind of distance between your work life and your private life as well. Many people who has always been working in home office, like programmers and other people, they have always been complaining about it, that there is no real like difference between their private life and work life. However, COVID has also like given an extra oomph to this phenomenon, and for that reason, like also not just for that reason, but also we can see that the social media without the COVID as well, like it did alter the changes within our private and public life really much as well. So sometimes we know that we just some people just share some professional data on Facebook as well, like I got a new degree, or I got my article has been published, please read it if you will, this and that and that. However, of course, we do share private data as well. So I'm hanging out here, I'm having a party, I'm having this girlfriend, this boyfriend, right? So we are sharing a bunch of data which is going to be like private data gone public, and this is the way we have been living our lives as well. So practically having a private opinion is now published, and sometimes, and this is what I try to show you as a last course, I wanted to do something fun, private opinions leaking or private opinions put online when detrimental, and I wanted to show you a bunch of cases in which it was problematic. Number one, and I'm just going to show you a couple of fun and less fun examples. Number one was a Hungarian case I wanted to show you, and this is going to be the Vodafone case. Practically, T-Mobile Hungary, their software service had an error. It was in 2009, and it was just a case I wanted to share with you. And there was a scandal around it with like Vodafone and T-Mobile. And T-Mobile tweeted out that like there will be official information about the network error. Please, patience, please. Practically, this is what they tweeted. And of course, T-Mobile and Vodafone, they are competing companies, so they were like always neck on neck with their success. And one of the colleagues of Vodafone, actually in Hungary, actually retweeted the message with a comment, "Okay, give us a call," and a smiling face. Of course, they cannot give them a call, or they couldn't give them a call because they had a service error and the whole T-Mobile shut down and they didn't have any service. Nobody, who was belonging to T-Mobile had any service on their phones. So practically it was not a kind comment, of course, because they say that like there will be official data on this and that network problem, and then they were like, yeah, give us a call, but they cannot give them a call, of course, because their network is not working, it's dysfunctional. And unfortunately, this little joke, it went horrible in the end. Suba János, he was the director of communication at Vodafone back in the days, probably still is, I'm not sure. And he was saying that Vodafone's colleague acted without permission and in an unsportsmanlike way, yeah, that's true, about the technical problem of our competitor. This behavior against fair competition was considered so serious that dismissal was needed. So practically, this guy, just for this smiling face and this comment that like, okay, give us a call, he was fired from his job practically because a private opinion and a private little joke, it would have been fine personally, I think, or in person. But because it went online and because many people could see it and because it just went, it was really unfortunate, and really not nice, it resulted in dismissal. So that was like not a fun thing, really. The case clearly demonstrates that a private manifestation, like at a traditional workplace, would not have any lasting consequences. But this one in the online interface, we've got to be, more careful because this kind of a mistake can result in a worse kind of action. Another one I wanted to mention to you is going to be the pleaserobme.com website. I'm not sure if you know this one. It still is alive. There used to be a YouTube video on it where there is like a guy who is really not nice. He's really telling people off for doing certain things like I'm going to be presenting to you. And so it got taken away. I think it was just so over sarcastic and really hurtful that it got taken away from the internet. But practically it's a website, even without the introductory video, where they do call your attention to the fact that users voluntarily provide data about their whereabouts, often like revealing complete location, if they're home or not, and current activities as well. So for example, gone on vacation for a week or working until the evening, party till the sun comes up. These were the comments that they were analyzing, and this website was actually an analytical website, practically analyzing the data when kind of an online, any kind of status update would result in breaking in, for example, so burglary, and where people would actually check it out, how this kind of an absence from home could be abused. I also had an ex-student, and I think she was mentioning that her parents went to the theatre and they went by taxi, and the taxi driver was asking questions like, so, oh, you look so fit and pretty, like, and very elegant, like, where are you going? And the parents did say that, like, we're going to a piece to watch at the theatre. And so the taxi driver was asking, like, yeah, and how long will it take? And what will you watch? And blah, blah, very casual chat. But it turned out that the taxi driver was built in as well. He was belonging to this kind of a crime band or burglary band, really, and gang. And they went and robbed them. So because they knew that they would be away for about 3.5 hours, and that would be perfectly enough. So this pleaserobme.com is also kind of shedding light on the fact that we do share a bunch of information which is private about our whereabouts and actions, and they can be abused big time, very, very much as well. Google, this is another story. It's an oldie but goldie. As usual, there was like a programmer who freshly signed on Google and started working for the company. And also, at the same time, he started writing a private blog after a couple of days' work. And he anonymously revealed problems, mistakes, anomalies about the new job and about his new position and about Google itself. And his IP address, by his IP address, the company could discover who is leaking information, private information of the company's affairs and office issues as well. Once again, dismissal was needed. So practically whenever somebody is doing something like this, and so many people are sharing information about the workplace or about colleagues, which is, I think, completely silly. Why would you? And I don't think it has it puts a bad mark on you if you're saying negative things about your own colleagues or your own workplace, really, because why are you working there if it's so horrible? So, it was once again a case where dismissal was needed. The next case I wanted to present to you, and I probably did mention it to you, was the ex-csajok.hu, the ex-girlfriends.hu website, which is a famous Hungarian ex-girlfriends blog. It's no longer findable online, so it cannot be found anymore. It was operating on foreign servers, and it was enjoying the attention of the great public for about 1.5 years. So practically, as I've mentioned it before, it used to be like a web page where anyone could freely send their exes intimate recordings, images, moving images, anything, personal information, and the details about the relationship and breakup as well, regardless of the background of the story and the breakup itself. Of course, it used to be, as you might imagine, it used to be rather males sending in females materials, because majority of times it tends to be whenever there is a visual kind of content, because males tend to be more visual, yeah, they expect more from the girl to be sending private photos. And so these photos were uploaded to this website. Due to personality rights, of course, numerous people sued the site, and after 1.5 years, they managed to get all the images off and all the webpage off as well. But as we know, there is no eternal delete button on the internet, and they can always just come back if somebody had saved it or somebody wants to re-upload it. It's just an ongoing process all the time. At the moment, the web page is off, it's not reachable, it's not findable anymore, but still we need to know about it, that it did exist. And once again, the border between the private and the public life was kind of mashed a little. Tesco's. This is one of my favourite stories, even though it's quite a sad one, but it's quite a horrible one, a horrible kind of action of all kinds of issues, really. It was in 2013, and you know that Tesco's is a UK grocery store chain, so it's coming from Britain, and it was hit with a shocking scandal, practically. So, I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but it was big. It was alleged that one of Tesco's suppliers, where they're getting the meat from, was shipping them horse meat instead of beef, and they were kind of selling it as beef, even though in the package it was horse meat, indeed. Now, soon after the scandal, it was a huge scandal, first of all, and it was quite, it gives you a bad name that you are selling all kinds of meat instead of the one that you should be. And Tesco's Twitter account was sharing a Twitter, which was a tweet, which was amazingly stupid and really, really badly kind of timed. Let me show it to you. It says, "It's sleepy time, so we are off to hit the hay. See you at 8 a.m. for more #Tesco tweets." Now, here comes the scandal on the very day, and the following day, this is the tweet that is coming out following evening. "It's sleepy time, so it's time to we're off to hit the hay." To hit the hay, it's an American kind of a structure or like an idiom. Hay is like something that horses eat. And to hit the hay, previously, back in history, beds were not made of like bed sheets and stuffings and stuff like that, but hay was put on wood so that you can sleep on it. So off to hit the hay means to go to bed, but it's very unlucky that you're selling horse meat and you're saying an idiom which is to do with horse food, really, like hay indeed. And so many people were kind of retweeting it and saying like, oh, we can see what you did there, Tesco's, and like, oh, how silly can you get to be doing this and stuff like that. It was a very poor timing, obviously. However, is so many like Tesco's was saying that like, oh sorry, it was like a pre-scheduled tweet and they never meant anything bad with it, and they apologized, which I think is a good deed in here. And they claimed that the tweet had been pre-scheduled days before, and it was just a very unfortunate timing. But still, it's you're in the middle of a big scandal. I think you need to double check what you had pre-scheduled. It was, we're all humans, so what we do is like we can always make mistakes. This one was a big one, which affected or which reached a lot of people. Next case I wanted to share with you, and in here this is going to be like a huge crisis where the CEO, like the big boss of the company, was reacting really, really unwell and very, very stupidly. I mean to say that. It all happened in 2010, and it was a tragedy in the Gulf Coast when the British petrol-owned kind of oil rig exploded, and it was leaking oil into the ocean, which caught on fire, actually, and it was the biggest oil spill in US history, lasting for 87 days. That's like really, really long, and 87 days, it's a catastrophe which took human lives and a bunch of animals' lives, and it was a detrimental effect on the nature as well. It's like a huge oil spill in the middle of the ocean, and it was burning for almost 90 days. That's really, really long. In a catastrophe like this, of course, there is not much that you can say to make things better, but there are some things you can say to make things worse, and the CEO could definitely make the situation worse. The name of the CEO was Tony Hayward, and in an interview 2 months later, compared to when the accident happened, he said, "We are sorry for the massive disruption it's caused to their lives," Hayward said. "There is no one who wants this thing over more than I do. I would like to get my life back." Now, wow. So his company is responsible for human lives and animals' lives and nature and everything, And then he's complaining that he wants his life back. I think it's not really sympathetic towards and empathetic. Is this a word? Yeah, it's not really kind to other people whose families also had been affected. So practically, he was tweeting out very, very silly things. This is another one. The Gulf is a very big ocean, and the environmental impact of this disaster is likely to have been very, very modest. Right? It's not nice, right? So you do give an oil spill, you kill people and animals, and then you say that the ocean is big enough to handle this. I'm speechless. I would like to get my life back. Okay, we will get it done. We will make this right. He was either saying it in an interview or in online tweets. He was very active in his social media. Everybody wished he hadn't. So he was just not really a suitable fit for online communication, because he just didn't know how to kind of show sympathy towards other people who would have deserved it big time. Germanwings disaster. This one is going to be a very similar case to the previous one that I've mentioned. So here the CEO is going to be kind of a very emotionless, stupid man right here. Germanwings plane, it was crashing into the French Alps. I'm not sure if you remember this case. The event was not, or the tragedy didn't occur due to corporate negligence. And it was not like a mistake of a faulty aeroplane or anything like that. It was a deliberate crash. It was a pilot called Andreas Lubitz, and he was found out to have been suffering from depression, which pilots are being tested, like blood tests and stuff like that, all the time if they're physically right and they hadn't consumed alcohol or drugs or anything like that. But their mental health up until this moment was not really paid attention to that much. And this guy was completely insane, unfortunately. He was taking a lot of medication on about his depression. He was having suicidal kind of plans and actions and stuff like that. And the media, it straight away got into a media spotlight, of course. And the CEO of Lufthansa, Carsten Spohr, was he was the immediate spokesman after the event happened. And he ensured that pilots were fully checked in all aspects, not only just physically, but mentally too, and their sentiments and their family life and stuff like that, which I think is a good kind of measure. However, he was also giving an interview, and in that one, he was saying, first of all, that safety in aviation is not given. Now, so practically he was saying that, flying is not safe anyway, so once you get on that flight, it's your responsibility if you take this chance of dying or not, which, it's not something you expect, because 300 people died on that aeroplane while crashing into the Alps. And no business should ever have to pick themselves up from such a tragic event. Once again, people's lives are taken, and the CEO is focusing on the business, which I think is very senseless and emotionless and not really the right way of reacting. They do know there was a bunch of things, like, for example, the black box of the airplane. It was showing that I'm not sure how it happened exactly, but as I read about this case in order to prepare for today's class, it was saying that there were two pilots in the cockpit. One of them was Lubitz, of course, and the other one went out to the bathroom or something, and Lubitz was kind of closing or locking the cockpit from inside. And people were unable to open it from the outside, due to terrorist attacks and stuff like that. The cockpit, you are unable to enter from outside if it's locked from the inside. So practically they couldn't go back to the cockpit. Everybody was trying, the other pilot and the stewards and stewardesses, and they couldn't. And then in the end, from the black box, they did hear that Lubitz was still breathing and he was still alive. So it wasn't like he passed out or something. It wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate accident, practically. So, and the CEO reacted this way. So once again, a private opinion, even though he might think this way in his own private life, that my business is dying, that's bad. But going out with it in the media spotlight, I think it's a mistake. It's a huge mistake, for sure. Amy's Baking Company. I'm not sure if you know this one, and I think this is the last one I wanted to show you today. It was a total social media meltdown, to end it on a kind of a happier note, or it's not happy either, but a more fun note. And Amy's Baking Company was a restaurant which was featured in Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. I'm not sure if you know it. Gordon Ramsay is super horrible in that show. He's a big chef, of course you know him, I'm sure. And so he's talking to people in his show, talking to a dog, really. So he's really, really, really aggressive in that show. But he's actually helping many struggling restaurants in the road. To hit the road, really, and to actually get started with their business, or to, if they had already started, to gain bigger fame or bigger kind of popularity. This is the American version. And so the business was fired. I mean, the Amy's Baking Company, which was one of the competing show elements and one of the competing restaurants in here, they were fired from the show for being too difficult to work with and refusing to listen to Gordon Ramsay and follow his guidelines. And the restaurant came off really badly in the show. Now, not long after the show kind of aired, the business received very many negative comments on their Yelp and on their Facebook pages. So people started to be commenting on their actions and on their behaviors and attitudes. And they were writing these comments back, which was not a very smart way of handling the situation. Instead of dealing with the negative online reviews right away, the owners, or like dealing with it in an intelligent way, the owners took a different approach, and they were texting these ones back. Most of you are fat, disgusting losers. Yeah, probably you don't even have a job or make over $4,000 a year. Most of your icons show you to be fat, overweight losers with nothing in your lives but disgusting people. My husband and I enjoy the finest champagne and caviar whenever we choose so. We are beautiful people and we have parties with people you can't even lick their boots. You are disgusting pig people. So these were the kind of comments that they were sending back. And unfortunately, due to this one, so already this whole show made a negative reputation to their business. But as soon as this kind of comment war started off, it just became even worse. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I still added an extra comment as well, but I don't think I will read it because it's horrible. You can all see it in the screen. I'll just stop the video. Yeah, they're saying how people who are commenting negatively are pathetic and horrible people, practically. So this is all down to crisis communication in a sense as well, ladies and gents. And what I would like to kind of point out is that an online crisis is always going to be worse than an everyday life offline crisis, because it's just going to stay there. It's just going to have more serious consequences, or just like reach more people. And a crisis, and this one is also going to be a part of our final exam, is that a crisis by definition is going to be a major occurrence with a potentially negative outcome affecting an organization, company, or an industry, as well as politics, products, services, or good name. So practically it's a negative kind of consequence. Now, I do not say that every single crisis will end up in the loss of the company or the loss of the whole reputation or something. I'm sure that we will be able to find some crises in which the negative event ended up in a positive kind of way. And I'm curious which ones you will be mentioning, how a negative, like a crisis, a negative issue, was resulting in a positive kind of outcome. I'm really curious if you could, or if you would be able to tell me any examples to this one. But a crisis indeed has got a negative connotation. It interrupts normal business transactions and can sometimes threaten even the whole existence of the organization itself. Now, crisis management, which, these people didn't do really very well, seeks to prevent or lessen these negative outcomes of a crisis, and thereby protect the organization and the stakeholders and the industry from the damage. I think it's quite easy from this point of view. Yeah. Now, practically, there are, and this is what I would like to share with you lastly, how to kind of give a feedback, or how to kind of have if there is a crisis occurring, how to handle it online. But of course, you do have some other tasks as well with crisis communication online too. First of all, signal detection coming from the Mitrov model, which is a 5-stage model. It actually says that you need to seek to identify warning signs and try to prevent it previously, right? So if there is like maybe a crisis coming along, there has to be like preventive measures done. So this is step number 1. The only problem is that majority of companies, larger or smaller ones as well, they will not want to splash out on having or putting money aside for a crisis group, because having like a crisis department for a company is very costly, and they're not always needed, because a crisis is not always occurring, and people, or just companies in general, they don't waste money on paying these people. And when the crisis hits in, normally those people try to find remedy who actually had caused the problem. So it's problematic, but many companies just don't have a crisis department for them, because it's just a waste of money in the eyes of them. Second point is going to be probing and prevention, which is going to be an active search and a reduction of the risk factors. This is like the crisis is really much approaching, and you're trying to find precedents. How other companies handled it, what happens here, what happens there. Damage containment. So the crisis does occur, and then actions are taken to kind of limit its spread. so that not many people will know about it, so that not many people will kind of take these. I mean, there's one person taking responsibility, and the other ones will be unaffected and stuff like that, practically. Recovery. This is going to be an effort to return to normal operations. So practically, the crisis occurred. You're trying to limit the problems that came along with it, and now you're trying to recover and you try to get back to normal, practically. And last but not least, and this one is also a step which is often missing, is going to be learning from your mistakes. This is what we never do, practically. So they often say that a smart person will be learning from the mistakes of others. Now, I find it with myself as well that I tend to make the same mistake over and over again just to make sure that I'm still good at that, you know. Learning from it is going to be hard for a company as well, as much as it's hard for a private person too. So practically reviewing the crisis once again and the crisis management efforts and trying to find what went wrong and whether the crisis management itself was right and it was done in a normal way, you know. This is all going to be an important part of the whole thing. And there are some crisis response strategies. These are the ones that I wanted to share with you lastly. These are also going to be a part of the final exam. Denial, ladies and gents. Now, we will be kind of trying to search for cases in these categories as well. Number one is denial. Simple denial is that I didn't do it, right? So, for example, Kevin Spacey, when he said he was accused of having harassed a young gentleman in the acting kind of sphere, and he said that it happened. He doesn't remember. He doesn't think he did that. But even if it had happened, it was like 30 years ago, so he doesn't think it happened at all. So that's like simple denial. I didn't do it. Shifting the blame within denial is going to be blame someone or something other than themselves or the organization. So saying that like, okay, I did that, but I was supported by the company, or it was not just me, or my boss forced me to do that, or something like that. Okay, so denial has got a double force, like simple denial or shifting the blame onto other people or other organizations, other forces which were kind of putting a big weight on your shoulders, so you needed to do the bad action. Evading responsibility. Now, that's quite similar to the previous ones. Provocation, which is going to be a response to somebody else's actions. So, so practically, like, you're trying to say that, like, it was not... I think it's very similar to the shifting the blame as well, but it's rather like putting the blame on other people too. And, like, you're trying to respond to other people's actions, and you're trying to give, like, examples what other people did. And so compared to their actions, it's like your action is also there, but, you know, everybody does that. It's like, oh, everybody is corrupt, everybody is horrible, so it's no problem. Accidental. You did not know it would happen, which is evading responsibility. Once again, it was an accident. So, for example, the British Petrol was like, they were saying it a bunch of times that it was just an accident, nobody's to blame. Yes, there is someone to blame always, you know, so this one is like, it was an accident, I'm sorry, I didn't know, that's it. And then good intentions, it's also evading responsibility. The actor meant well. All I wanted was just to provide them or to help them or to something, and unfortunately this is how it all happened, so yeah, that was bad. Another one is going to be within the category of reducing offensiveness, which is going to be bolstering. This one occurs quite often, reminding the actor's positive qualities. We did have a previous Prime Minister, Gyurcsány Ferenc, who had a very famous speech, which was like a private speech, but it leaked, of course, in 2006 it was. So, such a while ago, is it possible? I think so. And this is the very famous Öszödi speech in Hungary. And our previous Prime Minister, socialist guy, was actually talking about how they hadn't done a single thing. They stole everything from the state cashier, and the whole thing is empty, and and they were lying day and night to the public, and now the elections are coming soon, and it's going to be really uncomfortable because they stole everything. Practically, this was the speech that leaked. And then afterwards, the left-wing media was trying to make things better by kind of saying that, like, okay, he did that, and he admitted to have been lying and stealing day and night, but at least he's a good guy because he actually admitted to it, and he's a fantastic reader, and he's a fantastic speech-making kind of person, and he's a good speaker, and he's a funny guy and stuff like that. And so bolstering, like reminding of the actor's positive qualities is also going to be a crisis management kind of tactic. Minimizing the offensiveness of the act is the next one. Claiming little damage from the crisis. British Petrol, for example, saying that the ocean is big enough to handle a crisis like this, no problem. Differentiation. Compare the act to similar ones as well. Yes, saying that, like, okay, we did do that, but that company was even worse. Transcendence is like place the act in a different context. This is a hard one, I think, to find an example too, that like something happens and you place it to a diverse context other than that. So, okay, it's problematic within education, but if it had happened in a private kind of a company, it wouldn't be anything, you know. I'm still thinking. I would like to be hearing your opinion about it too. Or for example, maybe the Vodafone one that like the guy tweeted like, okay, give us a call, and there in like an offline context it would be no problem, but in an online context it was problematic. Attacking the accuser, that's very, very typical as well. Challenging those who say that there was a crisis and you say that there wasn't. So, for example, like many sexual harassment cases are similar to this one, saying that like, oh yeah, but she wanted it, or she was asking for it or something with her behavior or her short skirt or something. Compensation, offering money or goods, practically you're trying to, buy the person's silence or by the person's goodwill. That's not really nice. Corrective action, trying to restore the situation and promise change. This one was happening with the Toyota company. 2010 it was, I think, when Toyota was kind of producing and oversharing their cars and like in a very fast pace, and they didn't check the brakes really well, or it was just not built in really correctly. And many drivers, they were finding that as soon as they pushed the brakes, their car still was speeding and accelerating quite fast and faster and faster, and the brakes just didn't work in many new cars that were coming out of the company straight away. And I think it was like 27 people who died, and Toyota, the CEO himself, you know, that's his name because the company got the name after him, was sharing it in a comment that or like in an interview, I think, that he was very sorry about what happened. The lives cannot be given back, but the families will be compensated, and Toyota needs to kind of rethink its speed of production. It wanted too much too fast, and it ended up in a huge accident. So that's what it is. This is the corrective actions. Mortification is the last one. Asking for forgiveness, practically admitting your guilt. It barely happens. So when a person says that, like, yes, it was me, I very much made a huge mistake, I'm really sorry about it, and there's nothing else I can do, I'm sorry. This is mortification. You can find the word mortis mortem, which is going to be death. So practically you're killing yourself off. This is like you're killing your character. I think that's what we would say. So practically asking for forgiveness. These are the cases that I can think of. I'm not sure for full-on mortification if I can give you any good examples when a person just would have apologized and that's it, and not trying to offer anything or any other tactics were not used. I'm very curious. Okay, ladies and gents, this is already a super long video. I'm very happy to have covered these topics for you at last, and I'm hoping that you like this video as well. Let's move right into Teams now and talk about everything that we've heard. Thank you so much for your attention. Bye-bye.